From 1953 to 1987, the public water supply at Camp Lejeune Marine Corps Base in North Carolina was contaminated with toxic chemicals. So for 34 years, more than 1 million soldiers and their families drank, bathed, and washed their clothes in contaminated water that's now causing them terrible, terrible health problems. Thousands of Marines and their families have suffered severe, debilitating illnesses and have died. There is strong scientific evidence that chronic exposure to the toxic chemicals at Camp Lejeune in the water has caused increased rates of cancer and has caused injuries to children in utero. A new federal law, the PACT Act of 2022, was just signed into law by President Biden. This new law provides sweeping benefits for veterans and will allow victims of Camp Lejeune water contamination to seek legal compensation. The act will permit people who lived or worked or were harmed as unborn children at Camp Lejeune between 1953 and 1987 to file a toxic water lawsuit in U.S. Federal District Court in eastern North Carolina. Victims will have a 2-year window and deadline to file a claim, so time is ticking.
When life gets ugly, justice is lovely, the lovely law firm.
Hello, welcome to the Carolina Justice Report. I am Rainey Romero, chatting with attorneys Sarah Austin and Amy Lawrence. Today we're chatting all about civil rights that you may not know about. So ladies, you know, when we talk about civil rights, I think the first thing that pops into my head is a lot of racism things, but really this can be other things. What are other civil rights we may not know about?
Yeah, we always think of Martin Luther King.
Right, yeah.
Right, no, absolutely. And that's part of it for sure. But, you know, we're looking at, did the government violate someone's civil rights? And in those cases, you know, let me preface this whole conversation with, you know, I also do criminal defense, and I love good police officers. Mm-hmm. They are some of my best friends, and good police officers love me. They do.
Yeah.
Because I shine a light when there's a bad one.
Right.
And so, and I think I've said this before, you know, and Chris Rock said it best, you can't have bad apples that are police officers. Because,
That's true.
You know, when you put a gun in someone's hand and they have to make a split-second decision, you can't have a bad apple. Mm-hmm. Just like we can't have a bad apple with pilots, right? Can't say he had a bad day.
Yep.
Took a whole plane down with him. So, you know, and the best thing I tell people is, you know, police officers need more education. Mm-hmm. They need more training. And when they get more training and more education, then it's just better for everybody.
Right. Right.
But we love good cops. Bad cops, not so much. There's nothing I hate worse than a bad cop. And good cops will tell you the same thing. The one thing they hate the most is a bad cop. But in these cases, we're usually talking about some kind of police misconduct. Okay. We're talking about jail misconduct cases, jail suicides, jail assaults, police rape, and abusive and excessive force cases. Mm-hmm. You know, we've all seen you know, Sean King's videos on Facebook where it shows, you know, a young black man who's being shot,
right,
for essentially nothing. You know, we see the case down in Charleston, the Slager case, where he shoots a black man in the back and kills him. Mm-hmm. These are the kind of cases we're talking about. And there's nothing that like gets me all riled up and ready to like choke people out and sue them and do everything we can to stop this kind of nonsense.
Right. Right, because you're placed in a position of leadership, right?
Yeah.
And you're expected for the cop to do the right thing. So
we're supposed to be the best of the best. Mm-hmm. You know, I include lawyers in that too, and doctors. Like, we're supposed to protect people. Mm-hmm. And when I see this abuse of power shift, and it's usually, and the more I see it, it's like when I see cops in fatigues, it makes me so mad. Right? The militarization of cops, because they're supposed to protect and serve. And instead, they're given this.
And I think it makes them more scary, too, to see them like they're military, when really the cops I know and the cops we love, and we depend on cops in the civil, you know, in our car accidents and DUI cases and stuff like that to do the investigation. So we work closely with them all the time. And, you know, it's when you talk to people who are sometimes are scared to call the police when they're in trouble, and you're like, well, why were you scared? That's when the civil rights stuff comes in, and when they look scary and they're fatigued and stuff like that, when you should just be able to call them and say, I need help, and those are the people that come and help you.
Right.
Yeah. They should be. They should never add to the pain. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But we see that. You know, one of the biggest cases in my career has been an Horry County case, Horry County Police Department case, where it's been going on for years, 6 years. And matter of fact, we go to trial May 2nd. In federal court in Columbia, on the last 2 cases, I represented many women who were sexually assaulted by a police officer.
I think it's important because we talked about, you know, you think civil rights and you think about racism and
Right.
you know, Black Lives Matter and what's going on with Black men and Black women getting shot by the police. But it's not just that, it's also women.
Right.
And Amy does a lot of that.
Well,
Yeah.
and how does that even happen? Is the police officer there alone? They don't have their
So in this
know,
particular
partner?
case, these women were sexually assaulted, and the officer, an investigator that was tasked with investigating these sexual assault cases,
Gotcha.
unfounded the case, said there was no case there, even though there was, and never went after the perpetrator, and then ended up re-victimizing those victims and sexually assaulting them.
multiple?
Oh, there's
More that wanted to come forward, I think.
We have so many women that called me and they said, it makes me cry when I think about it. They said, they were outside the statute of limitations, but they didn't even want to sue. They didn't want anybody to even know. And they said, I want you to know that those women were telling the truth. And this is my story. And I've spent many an afternoon sobbing with women and hearing their stories of what has happened to them.
Yeah.
Because this guy was a monster.
And I think, and he was a monster, and a bad apple is not even
that
doesn't do him justice. But I guess in the civil rights cases, what we're looking for is how did this bad apple get through the system for so long? Like, how did this happen?
Yeah.
Because you talk to most cops and they'd be like, I would never be able to do that. I would
Right.
never be able to get away
How
with
did
that.
they pull this kind of stuff off?
How did he pull this off, and how can we prevent it from happening again?
Yeah.
And I think that's the part that really just breaks my heart and makes me just want to not kill people, but kill people. Because you see all the red flags for these departments, and then they constantly are turning their head to it, right? They're constantly being put on notice, that's what we're always looking for in these cases.
It's common in a lot of the shooting cases you hear
Yeah.
about too, where this police officer had a record of sort of being
Excessive
unhinged at
abuse.
almost every
Yeah.
single traffic stop, and then this happens. It's like, why was there nothing in place
Right.
to take a step back to send him for more training to fire him?
Yeah.
And then even when they find out, and instead of falling on the sword and saying, look, we failed at every level here, and I am so sorry, but this is what we're going to do to fix it. And instead you have indignancy and we didn't do anything wrong, and then nothing changes. And
Yeah,
you know what
and a
happens
lot
when
of
nothing
times-
changes? Nothing changes.
You see the good cops sort of getting backlash or getting fired or moved to a desk job for speaking up against seeing a bad cop do something bad. And I think I would like to see a system, and that's why we take these kind of cases, is to give the good cops a voice where they can say, hey, I saw this happening and it's messed up, and know that they're not going to get
There's not going to be
demoted
blowback.
or fired, and this bad cop just gets to reign on, like happened in our case that's going to trial coming up.
And we see it in most cases that we're looking at this, is that somebody spoke out and they paid a price for it.
Right. So with police misconduct, and I ask this just because I don't really know, is that always a physical misconduct, or is there another kind of misconduct?
It's usually physical. It's usually that they've abused their power in some way, whether it's sexual or hitting. And one of the things we look at in these kind of cases is, was there this malicious, and this is what I'm looking for, because I know their lack of training, right?
Right.
So I'm always looking, was this a malicious thing, right? Are you kicking a black man who's handcuffed on the floor in the head? That would be malicious.
Right.
Or did you do something and nothing like that, but did you do something and it was just because you didn't know any better?
Right.
Because no one ever told you. And so I'm constantly, and I think that police officers are a lot more apt to listen to me, and because I pull them aside and I tell them, look, I didn't know these things before, but I want you to know them, because if you don't know any better, you can't do any better.
Right.
And so if I tell you and I kind of educate them and inform them, I think it's because I'm a woman that they probably take it a lot easier. I think if Justin, looked at him and said, "Hey, you're doing this wrong," I'd probably have a different reaction. But they know it's coming from a place of love. And I also will print off I have pocket constitutions in my bag that I'll give police officers sometimes, because you'll be surprised they've never read it, which is just mind blowing to me. And no one asked them to, right?
Right.
They didn't know any better.
It wasn't a requirement.
Right, it wasn't a requirement. And I'll have case law. I've had a kid that was, or a lady that was, it was a kid, a female kid, and by kid I mean 20, who said F the police, something like that. And they were arrested for breach of peace, disorderly conduct, something like that. And there's case law in point that says that's freedom of speech.
Right.
You can't, you know what I mean? As long as they don't incite violence, there's these rules behind it. You can say whatever you want to the police. And while it's not kind and it's not respectful, it's not illegal.
Right.
And so I pull those police officers aside and say, "Hey, I'm really sorry that this happened to you, and that was not kind or respectful, but it's not illegal. And this is why. And here's the case. I'll have a little packet for them. That way you know that I'm telling you the truth."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That I have all the facts to back it up. And they're really appreciative when I do that.
Yeah.
Because I said, this is your livelihood. You have a family that you have to feed and put a roof over their head. And I know that you want to be protected, and the more you know in life.
Right. So, and just to clarify too, you get in an argument with a police officer and police officer yells at you. That's not misconduct.
No.
And,
we're looking for damages. Do you have damages? Were you arrested unlawfully, and did you lose your job? Or
did you spend time in jail? And
you spend time in jail and you shouldn't have.
Been in jail.
Yeah. Were you physically hurt? You have an injury. These are the kinds of things we're looking for.
Is this something that is common? Do you get a lot of these cases, or is there a lot going on?
We get a lot of calls.
It's more common than we would like it to be.
Yeah. My goal
sure.
would be we never have to take a case like this ever again, because we all get our shit together in life, right? But we get those calls way more often than we would ever like to. And we get a lot of jail case calls too.
But like Amy said, a lot of them, the civil rights violations and stuff that we would take on, and take to a trial and sue the state for, are the ones where there's these big system failures where this could have been prevented. And it's not a mistake. A cop made a mistake.
Right.
And sometimes we can fix that mistake just by having a conversation with the police officer. Sometimes just one-on-one with the police officer or the boss. And I know Amy has talked to the police department and the solicitor's office, hey, you guys are doing this wrong. And if they're willing to say, we are doing it wrong and we're going to do it right now, then the civil rights violation isn't worth that much if they're going to go ahead and fix it.
Yeah.
That's what we all want. That's the whole point. And
well, Amy, isn't that so great that you do that? You don't have to do that. You don't have to go and show them the right thing.
Especially, I would say this across the country. Here's a great example of where police, we're getting it wrong, right? There is a man who has been charged with multiple horrific domestic violence and rape cases here in our county. And there are charges against him in California and another state where he has raped, beaten, and choked almost to death a woman, right? In multiple states. And no one will extradite him back to those states to be held accountable for that. And I was talking to a prosecutor yesterday and a police officer, and they said nobody will come and get him because we've got to get those, we can't take him. Those states have to come get him. And they won't come get him. And I said, does that not speak volumes to where we are as women in this country? That men who rape, strangle, and beat women they're not even worth coming to get to hold accountable.
Is there an explanation given for that? A reason for why they're not going to get him?
No, just we're not coming.
So weird.
But this is kind of what we see. They don't care enough.
Yeah.
So there's money to be had in these cases, but I think they're difficult because there are certain caps and you have to prove certain things. And so they are very difficult cases. So a lot of times you are taking them on just for the justice and the change. And so that's the heart of it. That's most of the time, this is not going to be the case you retire on. A civil rights case, but it's going to be the one that changes someone's life and the whole system potentially, and that's the goal.
Yeah,
100% the goal. We also represent victims of sexual assault, just without police misconduct in general. But in those cases, we see that the police officers tasked with investigating sexual assault and domestic violence, they're not really trained. So, we see time and time again that entry level from being a road officer to an investigator, the first place they put you is the one place nobody wants to be. And you learn on rape cases, sexual assault cases. Not property crimes, but sexual assault cases. And those are the cases that you need the most training for. And, that's not where you go to off of, from DUIs in life. So I have offered to police departments to bring in the lead trainer from the FBI who trains police departments across the country on sexual assault and domestic violence and how to deal with those, right, for the entire department. And some departments have taken me up on it and let me donate that time because it's just better for the plight of women in our area. As a matter of fact, I just got a call last week that they have asked me to help create a criteria and an educational portion for the South Carolina Criminal Justice Academy about sexual assault and domestic violence to help train officers. And because right now there's no...
Which would be so helpful because those cases are hard to pursue. And like Amy said, we do represent victims, not of the police, but just victims of sexual assault. And it's so hard to sit next to a victim when the police haven't done their job and their, assailant, rapist is getting away with what they did to them. And there's nothing that you can do as a victim's advocate. We can't force the prosecutor to prosecute. We can't undo the investigation or make it better so that this person would be convicted. And so you just have to help that individual person through that and just try to help them get over the fact that, their rapist is out walking around and hopefully it never happens again. So when you see a case where you can identify, the police should have done this better or this person could have done this better and then this wouldn't have happened, that's where the civil rights stuff really comes into play.
Absolutely. So do you have any kind of tips for people who may have experienced some sort of civil rights violation?
Yeah, I would say call us an experienced civil rights attorney immediately because the preservation of that evidence is so important because, body cam footage and car cam footage gets lost very quickly. And the preservation of that evidence and witnesses is super important. And so I say reach out to an attorney immediately who does these kind of cases because...
It's hard to undo a cover-up and a civil rights violation after it happens. So when these departments realize they did something wrong, they will,
they start fixing it.
Shuffling things around, they start fixing it, and then people get promoted and they don't end up talking, and that kind of stuff goes on. So the sooner you call a civil rights attorney to help you preserve all that and get to the bottom of it, the better.
Yeah, well, thanks for shedding some light on this. I mean, this is great for me to know, too. I didn't know a lot of this was happening, so I appreciate you both for educating us on this, and hopefully we can make some changes, right? I appreciate all your work, Amy, that you're doing in the community. All right, you guys, thanks for watching this Carolina Justice Report episode. Of course, you can find them all here on YouTube and any other social media outlet that you use. You can find information about civil cases if they need to ask a question or anything like that with the lovely law firm. YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter. They are all over the place. They can also head online at justiceslovely.com. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
When life gets ugly, justice is lovely. The lovely law firm.
Hey guys, it's Rainey Romero with the lovely law firm. We are here for our monthly community service. We're so excited. We're in downtown Myrtle Beach at Associated Charities. This organization does so much for the community, for our homeless and for those in need, and we're so grateful to be a part of it today. We are doing sorting clothes and we're doing donations. In fact, our team, I'm so proud of them. They all went home, looked through their household items, and picked out some donations to donate. So let's go see what they brought. Amazing that they all took time to do that. We would love for you to do the same. They're always in need here, so we would love for you guys to go home, look through some old things that you've got, maybe you're not using anymore. They could use all sorts of things, household items, blankets, clothing, shoes, even old jewelry and nail polish and stuff like that. So obviously they have a whole list online. You're welcome to go check what all they need. But our team's inside sorting clothes, having a great time, so let's go see what they're doing. Come on. I'm here chatting with Cindy Dawson, who's the director of Associated Charities. How you doing, Cindy?
Good. How are you? Good to see you. Thank you.
Yeah. So Cindy, to give us a little overview, if people don't know about Associated Charities, they've never heard of it, what do you do here?
Gladly. Associated Charities was formed in 1952, and we moved over to our location on Lumber Street in the 1980s. And we are an agency or a nonprofit that helps the impoverished and the homeless in Myrtle Beach and the surrounding community. We go all the way to Conway, up to North Myrtle Beach, down into Georgetown, and we provide those that may need help with clothing, shoes, undergarments, household items, linens, just about anything we have. We give that freely. And we have giveaway day every Tuesday where things are given away to those that need that. And then we have what we call the $5 bag sale, where people can come in, the general public, or maybe people that have to work and can't come on Tuesday, and they can fill a bag of clothing, shoes, the same things that we give away on Tuesday for $5.
That's amazing.
Yep.
So where do you get your donations from?
We get our donations from just the general public. Anybody is welcome to donate. We have a donation bin for after hours. Otherwise, 9 to 12, Monday through Friday, we accept donations. We take everything from costume jewelry to beauty products, clothing, shoes. About the only thing we don't take is large exercise equipment. We don't take toys at this time because of storage. Don't take books and furniture. We don't take furniture. But
Okay.
everything else, good to go.
Now, tell me a little bit. I know your giveaway Tuesdays where people can come in and they can fill like a garbage bag of clothing, or how does that work?
On Thursday, they can come in for $5 and fill a garbage bag, and then on Tuesdays is when those people that may qualify. And to qualify, meaning you would receive some kind of government service, maybe such as SNAP benefits, something like that. WIC would help you qualify for that, and that's those people that fall below the federal poverty guidelines. Those are our Tuesday clients, and those are the ones that can shop for free. We also have what I call outreach programs that we started. We have a professional barber here every Tuesday giving haircuts, shaves to men, haircuts to women and children, and those are all free. And we also have usually 1 or 2 outreach services such as DHEC. DHEC may be here giving COVID shots, Hep A shots. We have care team that might be here. They could be giving AIDS testing or vaccines. We've had adult ed here. Just anything, any service or any agency that I think could come and give out information to the community.
So if somebody needs this, they're in need, do they need to like sign up or do anything, or they just show up?
All they need to do is come on Tuesday. If they do need emergency clothing, other than on Tuesday, all they need to do is knock on the door. We do a lot of that. If say, a homeless person or someone living outside or impoverished is wet and they need clothing, or they need a new pair of shoes, or they need an outfit that they have to go to work and they need it right then, we are here to assist them as long as we're in the building.
I love it. And I love your heart, Cindy. You've been so sweet with us,
you're so
and
sweet.
she's just so passionate about this, and you can
Today
just
was
tell.
a really good day.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
was
I love
good.
it.
And it's real important that we get these people here, and not only can we give them items, we can also send them to the agencies that can help them. We can get them a haircut. We can give them spiritual guidance. We can get them to the mental health professionals. The drug abuse. We just can funnel them wherever they need to go to get help.
Yeah. What kind of things do you hear from folks that come through? What does this mean to them?
Well, for instance, we just got approved to help people get their driver's license copy or their ID. If they're in the South Carolina DMV system and they've lost that ID, we can provide the letter that the DMV will accept to waive that $10 fee, which is very helpful to some people. And once they get that ID, they're well on the road to getting housing and getting employment.
Yeah,
So
that's a big deal.
Yeah, we just started that program Tuesday, and we gave away 6 letters, handed out 6 letters, and the people were well on their way to the DMV. So,
Well, let's talk about that. Oh, it is. You guys are doing such amazing work here. What are your needs? What do you need from people? Do you need donations or volunteers?
We could always use volunteers, and there's a little procedure to go through that. Just stop by and pick up an application for that. Always, need donated items. Some of the items that we really Always need are men's tennis shoes. That's a big item for people that are outside. Cans of bug spray. I do have a small supply, but it goes really, really fast. Sunglasses, just used sunglasses from the Dollar Tree. We clean those used items up, and they love to take those. Ball caps, shorts, mainly the small sizes for men. We're really good on the large sizes, but your 28s, 30s, 32s really have a need for that. Yeah. And children's shoes right now probably are our main things.
Okay. And we'll keep up with you and see what all you need and help you guys out, of course, whenever we can.
Always have at the back door, we have a display box, and it has our current needs list in it. So anybody can drive by and take a look at that.
Perfect. And folks, just come by and meet Cindy and Phil and the team. They're so great here. They gave me a tour when I came through, and it's just amazing the work that they're doing here. So we thank you once again.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It was a wonderful day. We enjoyed it.
Well, I'm sure it did more for us than for you, but thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, y'all. Well, that's a wrap. We had all of our team in here doing an awesome job sorting clothes, and they had a blast. Justin, what did you think about everything?
This was an awesome time, like always, and I'm glad, Rainey, that you chose this charity for our event this month, and I'm glad our team showed up. They made some donations, and they came in here and worked. I did a lot more talking than working, so I'll definitely be back. But we want to help get the word out, okay, that you need to come down here, meet Cindy, meet Phil. They're great people. I've spent some time with them today, and Associated Charities is doing awesome work for the Myrtle Beach community, and we're glad, as always, the lovely law firm can reach out and help and give back to the community, which we love so dear.
Yeah, I think this was a surprise for everybody, right? Because
Absolutely.
Associated Charities has been here for so long, and a lot of people didn't realize it was here.
Yep.
So it was kind of an eye-opening experience today, right?
Right. And, our goal doing this and what we've been, putting out on our social media is to help get the word out that people need to give back and help. And, we've a big eye-opener, like she just said, but we're here to help. And anything that we can do to give back to Myrtle Beach, we're glad to participate.
Absolutely. Well, folks, we will be at another charity next month. If you have one that is in need and you would like us to come out and help volunteer, we would love to hear from you. Please let us know. It's meant a lot to us today, so we thank Associated Charities for letting us be here and joining, the help today. So, and of course, we are all over, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. You can find us wherever if you want to reach out and express your need or question. Thanks so much for hanging out with us today.
When life gets ugly, justice is lovely. The lovely law firm.
The water at Camp Lejeune killed Marines and their family members in 3 ways. The first is ingestion, and this is the most common exposure by drinking the water. The second way is dermal absorption. Bathing in showers or children swimming in pools, chemicals in that water seep into your skin. And then finally, the third way, inhalation. These chemicals were inhaled by our veterans and their families.
When life gets ugly, justice is lovely. The love